right, we are at our 8th video of the AWS Revisited Imperial Conquest, my own scenario. And we are going to continue with our Civil War. But wait a minute, stop, hold on. Once again, I have an issue with this combat system. And listen, I fought a battle here. One side was clearly being destroyed down to its last unit, being hard pressed. The other side was all fresh units, fully intact, pressing home the attack. You go to the third battle round, and the losing side forces a discipline check on the winning side, and the winning side rolls a 3. And the 3 on the recruit table is a G result, which is go berserk. It would have been better to roll a 1 or a 2 where you just fail your discipline check and then you're disrupted. And since none of them were disrupted, that would have been the end of the battle. Nothing happened. However, a G result means all the recruit classes were eliminated. The entire army was eliminated. This, to me, is just egregious. And I just have a hard time moving by this. It almost makes the game unbearable. In the designer notes, I'll never forget, he said he didn't want a one-and-done battle system. So he came up with the 3 rounds. But erroneously, because of the charts, it actually turns into a one-and-done. You can be doing great, it doesn't matter what the odds turned into. It doesn't matter your army's about to lose. You can roll a one and done, and that's it. I'm trying to fix this. Now, if you're playing against someone else, the battle markers will help this to some extent, and the battle board definitely takes care of this problem. But when you're playing solo, that's more time-consuming stuff, and it's hard to pick battle markers against yourself. So I'm trying to figure out something just in the basic, simple combat system they have. So I already implemented my changes for the first round. When, one civis unit's firing at a whole army, you don't disrupt the whole army, only half of it. Well, in the third round, what I'm going to say is we have to implement this rule. If the unit is a 5 strength point and it's taken on, 30 strength points, and it sees that the rest of its army's been disrupted or routed, or it's seen its flank get turned, or its front line's been broken through, armies panic and run. Now, of course, the barbarians and the independent client states will run, a little bit faster than the Roman units will. But that's what they see. It's lost and all hope is gone. Yet to have that one unit turn around and force a discipline check on the army that's doing the outflanking or turning the flank or breaking through, whatever you want to have it, pressing home the attack. And then all of a sudden, wait a minute, you're like, what happened? I rolled a 3. The whole army's dead. It's like, did God send down a lightning bolt? What the heck just happened here? It's very strange. Just unlike anything I experience most of the time. But so if that one unit is left, I'm going to say in the third round, okay, let's say it does force a go berserk result. But the one unit, there's no way it's going to annihilate the entire army. So it can only annihilate 1.5 times more than its strength. Period. And of course, if you have cavalry being the third round, you can double those strength points. So in this case, I had a 5 legionnaire go 1.5 times more, and we round up, so that 5 becomes a 3. So it's 8 strength points. So the opposing side will lose 8 strength points. That's just the way it's got to be to me. It's crazy otherwise, and I can't get past it. And I fought battles here 3-4 times just to see the outcome. And especially when I fought the one at Rome, I fought it 3 times. 2 of the times, both sides were annihilated with freaky conditions. And then I settled for the third battle after implementing my results. But Anyways, I have to get that rule just straightened out. So that's what I'm doing now. We're implementing the first round half disruption, and we're implementing the third round 1.5 times eliminated with the G result. So with that out of the way, let's move to another situation I have, and it's with the movement of leaders. Now, when you read the rules, it says leaders act like any other unit. However, it also says that leaders are not affected by attrition results or discipline checks. And what I've been doing is just moving my leaders without having to expend a military stratagem. So I just been moving them. They're 10 hexes and moving them around. And I don't think that's really unrealistic, and I don't have a problem with that. So just to let you know, that's how I'm moving my leaders. They're I don't roll on the march table. I just move them. They're 10 hexes. One more thing. It's the recruiting. Now I could have been missing this and missing some detail here, but usually when I'm taking my first turn, you recruit first, then you move. Well, if you're outside a city, a leader's outside the city, technically he's not allowed to recruit. He has to be inside the city. So I have to watch for that detail. And what was happening, like when you read the rules, it says if you're the only force on a city hex and the city's yours, then you're assumed always to be inside the city. And that's fine, because I don't spend a lot of time moving my civis units, taking it off the top, because basically if a civis unit's on top of your units, you're in the city, but you're always removing that and looking in the army. So a lot of times I just leave the civis unit on the bottom. But if you're the only force there, it says you're in the city, unless you specifically state that you're going to be outside the city. So we'll start using maybe some in-city markers if I have to, if I get confused. And we'll put that, whatever hexes, whatever units are inside the city, we'll put that marker there, and then everything else is outside the city. And this I specifically ran into with Marius, because Marius, I was afraid to go inside the city, because if he goes inside, Sulla could have actually forced marched and trapped him there. And I hate being trapped in a city with my leader and stuff, because you either got to win your way out or you're going to end up being defeated. So I always like to leave him outside a city, have a chance to withdraw, and then move on. So I purposely made him outside the city because Sulla was threatening Rome. So there's just some details there that we got to make sure we pay attention to. Now, with all that being said, let's move on with our game here. It's 88 BC, and we have our first civil war, and it happens to turn out between Marius and Sulla, because, Marius could have died in the Median War and the barbarian migration, but it didn't happen that way, so we have our first civil war. And with that, we have to cover some general rules that I have for my scenario, and they're 5 simple rules. And number 1 says always follow the notes that I put on the calendar. And here's the calendar. Leaders being added or removed. So you can see in 88, first Civil War, it says add Metilius to purple, add Cinna to red, and then the Res Republica table starts. So every year we'll look at the calendar and make sure we're doing what that says. So you can see here we have to make our own counters for these 2 leaders. And they're both rating 1s with V class. And you put them wherever you have a combat unit. And that brings us to rule number 2. And again, this is just based on facts. And this really started after Marius and Sulla, but I just implement it now. No Roman units, combat units, are allowed in Italy. Senate did not like that. And you cannot recruit in Italy at all unless there is a Roman civil war or enemy units are in Italy. And here's the boundaries that when I reference to being within Italy. The boundary in Italy is this river and to Sicily. Can't have any combat units in there at all. Now, for foreign troops to be in Italy, it's going to be the entire hexes from here, the mountain hex. When they enter these mountain hexes, it'll be from there to Sicily. That's foreign troops in Italy. Now you can see here the consul armies. They're up here. They're above this river, which is okay. That's why they're stationed up there. They're not crossing the boundary here. And remember, we're still in the Republic, so you have the consul armies. And rule number 3 is if you have combat units in there, because let's just say you just finished fighting an enemy or a civil war, you must move them out the next turn. Otherwise, they're disbanded or moved to the recruit box. And like I said, these rules are pretty simple. The Roman players cannot attack each other either by tribute or combat unless they're in a civil war. And then lastly, the Roman players, if they're not in a civil war, they can stack together, move together, fight together, enter each other's cities, hexes. The only thing they can't do ever is use the other Roman players' cities for supply or recruitment. And those are the 5 simple rules. Now, for the civil wars, there's 3 simple rules, and you can see the first one here is you always start and end the civil wars according to the calendar dates. Remember the calendar I showed you, and you just follow the dates on there. And the civil wars were, I took a reference of all the historical civil wars, obviously, and there wasn't. Civil wars had different objectives and were fought over different things. Obviously, for Rome, that's why our victory conditions are based on who controls Rome as a Roman player. But other than that, Pompey, Marius, they fled Rome. Pompey, the supreme leader for the Optimist Party, was killed, but the war still carried on for 3 more years. But at other times, like Severus, who destroyed Niger and Albinus in battle, that ended the civil war. So when you had Octavian and Antony, Antony didn't even care about ruling from Rome. So there's a lot of different aspects going on. So my civil war rules will just start and end according to the calendar. And since we have markers where you can determine if you have an automatic victory or not, within each of those markers, there's 3 of them, right? 50 BC, 50 AD, and at the end of the game, Roman players will have 3 opportunities with civil wars, 3 civil wars within those markers to try to take Rome from the other player. So, and with that, I had to fudge some dates here and there because just to make it fair, I'm giving the Roman players 3 chances during each marker to take Rome from the other player. And then, of course, I do make some simple rules that if you're in a civil war, you can stop the civil war anytime you want. The 2 Roman players can agree on a temporary peace, and I call it a temporary peace, and that is you just decide to stop fighting for whatever reason. And that agreement is not binding, meaning each one of the other players can just attack whenever they feel like it. But remember, when the calendar says that a specific civil war is coming to an end, it will end. Second, you can have a conditional peace. That means one side can offer a peace to another. One Roman player offer peace to another Roman player in which he has to surrender 3 of his cities, and there has to be a time limit put on it, anywhere from 1 to 2 years. And those are binding. You cannot break them. And so one side can offer that peace to the other player, and then he can accept it or not accept it. So you can have those in your civil war. And then, of course, when there's a civil war, all restrictions are lifted, right? Roman players can fight each other, take each other's cities. You can go in Italy, do whatever you got to do. Just remember that named leaders can always recruit Praetorian Guard units from Rome and move around Italy with them. And the Praetorian Guard really didn't start till the Empire era, but, I'm starting them now. And anyways, at least a couple. I will add more guard units during the Empire. But anyways, those are the simple rules. They're pretty basic, pretty historical. And that leads us to our first civil war here. Oh, and one last thing. The Res Publica table. The Res Publica table will be used as like this. The purple player will roll on the Optimist table all the time. and the red Roman player will roll on the populous table all the time. Now, both players can choose to roll on the exerdius table. Now, it looks like when you look at the tables, for the optimus table and populous table, no matter what you roll, is a pretty good outcome for you. But on the exerdius table, if you roll an 8 or higher, that can be kind of have negative effects against you. So I wouldn't really pick to roll on that table unless you really had to. And so anyways, let's look at our Civil War. Now when we go to add our leaders, I'm going to go ahead and put Metellus here, and I'm going to put Cinna in Rome. Now, you know, the event starts out where Sulla was named supreme leader by the Senate to go deal with Mithridates. And then Marius' supporters overthrew his appointment. So he turns around, starts the Civil War, and marches on Italy. And it seems like that's the best move. When we start 88 BC, if I'm purple player, I'm not worried about Mithridates right now. You see how long it took him to do his stuff. So I'm going to get over here to Rome. Now, there's a lot of different things we can do here. I mean, a lot. And I'm not going to go over them all. And again, I'm not going to show you the moves. It's just what my thinking is. Now, Sulla, right, is collecting 4 stratagems. 3 because of his leader rating as supreme leader, and then for owning 5 major cities, or at least 5, you get 1 more. So he's going to collect 4. We'll be able to recruit here, and then march this army somewhere. I'm thinking about marching this army here, or I'm thinking about going to this city here. Because from this city, I'm within 4 hexes of Rome, and I don't need a supply unit. And I'm finding out more and more, don't get supply units unless you have to. They really slow you down. So from here, I can operate a base. If I take Milan, I'm not within 4 of Rome. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So strategically, it doesn't help me. However, if I can destroy this army, that'll benefit me. But it'll take a turn to do this, and then another turn, and then I have to force march to get to Italy. Whereas if I just come here, and if I can get these 2 right away, then in 2 turns I can be in Rome. And he'll have to bring this army over here, I mean, most likely, just to deal with the battle. I may do that. I don't know. I'm going to think about it, or I might just attack this right away. Marius, for his part, he starts with 1 military stratagem, and he is not the supreme leader yet. You would have to do that by use of the game mechanics. And so I think one of the first things for Marius is I want to make him supreme leader, because right now he's only collecting 2 stratagems. If he becomes supreme leader and stays in Rome, he's collecting 5 a turn. That's a lot. So we're going to have to pick the Imperator stratagem marker to make him a supreme leader. And then for Sulla, I'm going to at least pick the agent stratagem, make sure I get that, because I don't want them to try to assassinate me at all. I took this army, I decided to attack. It worked out pretty good, not as good as I wanted, but I did destroy 9 strength points and get a minor victory. Marius lost his only stratagem, so when he started his turn, he got to pick 2. He didn't have any on him, but he picked the Imperator and a political. So he made himself supreme leader, and then he recruited a Praetorian Guard. So now he has an I-class unit there, 5 strength legion. Plus, what was left over, he had 1 legionnaire and 1 auxiliary left over from this battle that went there. So, and he has the 2 fleets there still, so he's not looking bad. Well, Tigranes is not having any luck here. We stormed the city, and we lost a unit. So we'll see how long we can keep that up. What I did is recruit here with Mithridates and recruit here with the Legate. So I need a few more forces before I take off here. So I just waited 1 turn, just like I did last time. I'm able to recruit, and then my second turn I'm going to recruit and then move out, because I got to bring a supply unit because I have no base within 4 of the road. So I don't know if you remember in the last video, but I recruited supply. So he's going to move. He can only move as fast as that supply unless I get an extra movement. But turn 2 is done. It's pretty uneventful. I tried to attack by tribute. The civis failed, but then I conducted a formal siege because I do have a V veteran legionnaire, so I'm able to attack by a formal siege. I'm just showing Sulla's turn real quick. You know, just things that you get used to you could do. So for Sulla, I recruited this civis unit. Now he has a 3 rating. He can use 3 times stratagem in his turn. Then I used a military stratagem to march, and I rolled a 3. I had to take an attrition loss. I took off one of the missile infantries that I had bought, the extra one. Then I went ahead and marched, and then I spent a political stratagem and attacked by tribute that civis unit, and I actually got it. So this city now belongs to purple. So even though Marius is getting stronger, I may have not took the best route. I should have just maybe marched here and went for this. And I'd be fighting a main battle here, but so fleets load at the beginning of movement and then they unload at the end of movement, and you're not allowed to pick up units or do anything else. So they're there. Nice little force there. Got to recruit behind, so we're going to be hitting this battle, and it looks like we'll be going for the battle. So on the last turn, Sulla, he chased out Marius in August actually, and then the last turn he attacked the civis unit while on the march. And so we wrap up the year 88 BC, and we're going to move into 87. Then I'll just come back and show you what happened. But what I'm really amazed with is Sulla's 2 fleets transported troops to reinforce them, and then sailed around to Rome, never lost a ship. Marius fled Rome with his 2 ships, transported what forces he had to Africa, never lost a ship on that roll. Mithridates got his 2 ships and reinforced him over by Paragama and never lost a ship and moved them back. So the naval movement's going very well, not losing any forces on those yet. So 2 turns I've tried to take Neapolis from red, and the first turn I didn't breach the walls, so I tried to storm, no good. Second turn, I breached the walls. I disrupted him in the first round because he failed his discipline check. And then the 2 final rounds, I rolled 1s, which means no force loss, just discipline checks, and he passed them both. So, see, that kind of stuff is okay. I'm happy with it. That's just the way battles go. But as far as entire armies being annihilated, you know, that's what I had a problem with. So that's just the way the ball bounces here. 2 bad rolls compared to 2 good rolls, and I'm still besieging that. Meanwhile, I'm just building ships here, and I'm actually building ships here, but Marius is going to take off here and get back to Italy and force another battle, see what happens. Here we are at the end of 87 BC. Now, when Marius returns to Rome in history, he ends up dying. And it kind of stops the civil war for a little bit, and then a year later it kind of kicks in again. So in a few turns, this civil war is ending. And so because of that, I brought Marius back, and I'm going to try to hit Rome right now with the best I could, and so that's where we're at. Mithridates took Paragama, took them all year. Tigranes still didn't get that other second city, but other than that, we're going to go for a battle here. Okay, so I thought I'd show this battle. We are in August, and so there's only one more turn, and next turn Marius actually dies in history, and when he came back to take Rome, and then Sulla had to come back and take it. But so we're going for a battle while we can, with Marius being a good leader. And so Sulla, he's collecting 6 stratagems, while Marius is only collecting 3. So he was able to play 1 stratagem, but I played 2 on Sulla. So we're adding 5 to Sulla. And wow, Sulla only rolled a 1. That becomes a 6. And Marius actually gets 2. Marius gets 3. Marius won the tactical superiority. Wow. Those are the kind of rolls that happen here. So let's go ahead and shoot. I love having ships. When you're fighting on the coast, ships are pretty powerful. So because they're considered heavy, they shoot missile, And so that's really, and they're strength 5. So his missile is 5, 10, 5, 10, 15, 19, 23. 23 for the missile shot for Marius. And it's a 6. Again, a 6 is okay. It's not a discipline check. But that's just the way they set up the table. So we lose 5 strength points here. The question is, to shoot right now, that's right. We're going to remove a 5 strength recruit legion. All right. Now purple shoots. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20. We have 24. One more point than Marius had. Let's see what we get. And it's only a 2. See, and now that is a discipline check, but no losses. So we are going to protect. We already have an eye there. All my fleets are veterans. This guy ain't going to help. He's just a recruit. Let's go ahead and protect one of these guys. No, let's go ahead and protect a recruit legionnaire in case I can save him. So let's see what the discipline check is. Oh, and it's a 6. They all pass. So nothing's happening there. Let's go to the assault round. Assault round says 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 78. Here we go. And they only get a 1. Wow, it's a 0 loss, but a famous discipline check. That's what we're scared of all the time. Let's go ahead and protect one of my recruit fleets. Discipline check. And it's a fail. They're all disrupted. The entire Purple Army is disrupted. Let's go back to this. There's no cavalry. So it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. And it's 43 for red. Sorry, rolled 43 strength points for red. And again, it's a 1. 0 losses, but we have to roll a discipline check. I'm going to keep the same protection, even though the entire army is disrupted. And he gets a 3. That's that vaunted go berserk. However, veterans all pass. So this passed, this passed, this passed. And this veteran passed. And Sulla saved this one. So the only one that dies is the recruit right here. So, okay, so that's what we have. So we have a battle that red wins because the entire force is disrupted and more than half of his is not. Now, what kind of battle it is, since we only lost 9 strength points, it's a minor victory. Red gets to pick a stratagem, purple has to lose one. Now, one thing I was looking up is for fleets. And the fleets actually don't say, you know, where they retreat or in a battle. I mean, they have to be allowed to retreat, I'm assuming, from a battle. It ain't like they just sit there. If they retreat, they're going to retreat. And they're going to retreat to the coastline 1 hex. And Marius is occupying the hex outside of Rome. Wow, what a battle. Okay, so it's purple's turn. We collect our stratagems. I'm not going to recruit with this consul. He's going to try to get this force back to there. And again, I'm using a military stratagem. So basically, he's going to make it. I just got to see if I'm going to lose something if I roll a 3. Die rolls haven't been going good for purple here, as you see. Oh, and I just got a 4. So this army makes it. We get to add 4 to purple, 2 to red. And they both rolled a 6. This time, purple fires first for purple. The first round. And it's a 6. Unfortunately, it's no discipline check, but it's a 5 strength point loss. Right now in the assault, let's take the missile infantry off. Okay. Assault round. Nobody's disrupted. We have a 72. We get a 3. That is a 5. Yep, a 5 strength point loss and a discipline check. See what he gets on his discipline check. Who we protecting? Alright. Just in case we roll low. But he passes. So he does have to lose the 5 strength points. Let's go ahead and take off the recruit. And it is now red's roll. Red gets 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 54. Red gets 58. Let's see what they get. And they get a 5 at 58. And it's no discipline check, but it's a 5 strength point loss. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and take off a 5 recruit ship. So far the losses are even. We need a big round here. Big round. Everybody fires at normal. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. There's 32. Let's see what he gets at 32. And it's a 3. And it looks like another discipline check. And it's a 2. And we have a fail for recruits, but veterans go berserk. Wow. That is crazy. That is just crazy. So they get disrupted, but veterans, it says, will go berserk. And these two are not veterans. That means the fleets are lost. And red doesn't look like they came out good in this battle. So that's more, you know, to me, these are more even battles, even though none of my circumstances came in to play. But what a cool battle. Disrupted, got taken out. These I-class units survived along with the veteran, but he was able to improve it. And, you know, don't lose the entire army to annihilation. Even though I think in a circumstance like this, an entire loss would be, you know, plausible because they're both going at it. It was a pretty even battle. Anyways, is lost. So red is the loser of the battle. And then is it a major or a minor victory? And it is a major victory because there's more than 20 strength point losses. So, all right. We finished June. We're up to June 86 BC. Finish those 3 turns. Now, one thing I forget to do is I had a few chances to roll in the Res Republica table, and I haven't been doing it. So I started rolling this year. And Sulla acquired the Senate office. Now, as we start chasing the consul, Marius the Porter, they ran to their stronghold right here in Sicily. And the legate that came from Africa, who had recruited 2 ships, earlier on, Marius did, before he started on this campaign, they came across with a couple Roman units and an elephant and a 10 band or mob missile unit. So that landed there. So they got a pretty good force right here. Sulla didn't take any chances yet. We did take this city from red. That's why this is done. And so over here, Mithridates, I had him cross. Now, I could have just stayed in Asia, maybe took Ephesus and stuff, but I thought, you know what? Why not threaten this army? Because if he can get to Paragama by the end of 85 BC, he can end this first Mithridatic War, and then all these forces have to go back to their starting positions, because that's basically what happened in the first event. And so I'm still running that event, so I thought, let me keep this army from getting over here, I thought. So I don't own this city. I'm besieging that right now, so we'll see how that goes. And then Tigranes is back at it, trying to take a city over there, and he marched it in 1 turn, and then he's failed to take it in the 2 turns. So we got a lot of interesting stuff happening right now, and that'll be for the next video. Just kind of show you, we don't have to go over any things unless I see some details, as we creep along here.